Hello, class. Hope everyone's having a good day today. I want to talk to you briefly about two poems that you have read, I hope, and that maybe have challenged you a little bit. That are certainly not the easiest poems we're reading this semester, but they are two of the most rewarding, in my opinion, and I hope you enjoyed them. Hope you enjoy my brief talk about them. The first one here, as you see, is Anyone Lived in a Pretty How Town by E. E. Cummings, a wonderful romantic writer. And the key to this poem is just realizing that anyone is a person. Anyone is just a generic man, and no one is his wife. Anyone lived in a pretty how town. Now, Cummings has very strange diction and very strange wording, and I certainly cannot, profess to understanding everything he says. Up so floating, many bells down. I think of all the bells that are in a small town, the church bell, the bells on Sundays, the wedding bells, the funeral, death, bongs or whatever you want to call that, the dirges. So, I think of all the bells that are floating around this town, a lot of which again are for happy romantic occasions like weddings and church services and stuff. And he lived, he sang his did and he danced his did, spring, summer, autumn, winter, like we all do. We all go through life and sing our song and dance our dance and do our thing. And, as the seasons progress and as our life goes on. But he's lonely. Women and men cared for anyone? Not at all. They're doing their own thing. They're sowing their isn't. They're reaping their same. They're going through the cycles of nature and the cycles of the sun, moon, stars, rain, the cycles of life, the same way anyone is. But again, anyone is on his own. Anyone doesn't have these people to care for him. Children guessed, but only a few, and down they forgot as up they grew, that no one loved him more by more. Again, no one is the girl. No one is eventually the woman he grows old with, the woman he dies beside, he's buried beside. And it's interesting that the children pick up on their love before the adults do. The children are more in tune with love and with romantic possibilities than the adults are. So when by now and tree by leaf, she laughed his joy, she cried his grief. She felt his emotions. They were connected. They were one. They were in love. Anyone's any was all to her, just as it is when you fall in love. Whatever is important to that person, whatever is an any to that person, is important to you. And then life goes on. Someone's married their everyone's, people get married, they have children, they raise their families, they do their dances, they said their nevers, and they slept their dream. I always like that line, they said their nevers, because to me that's the wedding vows. I'll never leave you, I'll never depart you, I'll always be here for you. And then they live their dream, they sleep their dream. One day anyone died, I guess, and no one stooped to kiss his face. You see the beauty there. His wife maybe literally kisses his face in the coffin, and also, I imagine, dies shortly thereafter. Busy folk buried them side by side, because again, these are the people who are going on with their own lives. As much as we may love other people and we may love our neighbors, and the bottom line is we do go on with our own lives. And when people die, we bury them side by side. We bury them and we're busy with our own lives, and we go on. But then look at the ending here in this beautiful romantic poetry. All by all and deep by deep and more by more, they dream their sleep. No one and anyone. Earth by April, wish by spirit, and if by yes. My favorite part of the poem. If they can find love, if they can find happiness, if they can be fulfilled in this crazy world we live in. And the answer is yes, they can. Yes, they can find that fulfillment and that love with each other. And then we go right back to the beginning, don't we? Very similar to the beginning, the seasons, and women and men reap their sowing and went their cane. Life goes on, and the next generation comes up and finds each other and goes about their busy lives. So that's the key. Again, don't get hung up on every little word, but that's the key to that poem. The other one I want to talk to you about is much longer and probably even more challenging. Well, I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes if I can. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot, certainly an American genius. T.S. Eliot, who came up with this poem. And again, the key here is just to focus on the character of J. Alfred Prufrock. Prufrock is this lonely, kind of pathetic man who really doesn't have very high self-esteem, who is like a patient etherized upon the table. As you may know, ether was what was used back in the day to knock people out before surgery, like anesthesia. It was an early anesthesia. And so he is going through his life etherized. He's going through his life, out of it and not really engaging in life and with other people. And so he's going, and he's obviously not in a very nice part of town. And you can look this up, certainly, and you'll find other online critics that may approach this poem differently. But it seems to me that Prufrock is a pretty low-class person, just in terms of socioeconomic class. I'm not judging him as a person, but he lives, he's going through these half-deserted streets, the cheap hotels, the sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. This is not a very nice neighborhood he lives in. But he's going to this rather nice party where the women are talking to Michelangelo. And so there are different ways of interpreting this. Is he crashing the party? Is he a server at the party? What's he doing here at this place where he really doesn't seem to fit in, and he knows he doesn't fit in? And anyway, so he is going through these streets. There's an interesting cat image in this stanza here. I don't want to get into it much about the yellow fog and how it rubs its nose. If you read that carefully, you see a cat. The fog is described as a cat. I don't know what to make of it, but I do think it's interesting. And of course, I saw some critics that talked about how he's in hell. This is kind of an image of hell with the smog, the smoke, and the soot, and a lot of fire kinds of images here. And so maybe, who knows? Anyway. I love this part here. Before he leaves the house, before he's going to this party, there will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create. So I picture him trying to decide how he's going to fit in this party, because he knows he doesn't fit in. He knows that, again, these are higher class people than him. And as we're about to see, there's a girl, right? Do I dare? Do I dare? He's in love. And he wants to, do I dare talk to this pretty girl? And so he's looking in the mirror and thinking, how am I going to approach her? How am I going to seem? Am I going to be suave? Am I going to be funny? Am I going to be really serious? Am I going to be charming? What's the face I'm going to present to her? And again, this is obviously someone with very low self-esteem who doesn't feel like he can just be himself. Because hopefully when you go to a party, you feel like you can be yourself and you can just present who you are, and people will love you and like you and accept you. But he doesn't feel that way. So he has to prepare a face, and then he doesn't like it, so he murders it. He gets rid of it. And he tries another one. He doesn't like it, so he gets rid of it. Great image there of, again, someone with very low self-esteem, who isn't sure that he fits in, who's pretty sure he doesn't fit in with these fancy people, the women talking to Michelangelo, this great artist. And then again, notice how he describes himself here. Speaking of low self-esteem, we have more of it. With a bald spot in the middle of my hair. My necktie rich and modest, a kind of a not a very fancy necktie. There's about his thin, where's the thin arms and legs? I don't see. Oh, here we have his arms and legs are thin. So, he's skinny. He's got these thin arms and legs. He's got this bald spot. He certainly doesn't describe himself as a very handsome man. But do I dare disturb the universe? That's the key question in the poem. Do I dare disturb the universe? Because he, as sad as he may be, as lonely as he may be, he's intact. His universe is working for him as long as he keeps his expectations low. And certainly a lot of people can identify with that. But if he goes to this woman, if he goes up to this woman and lets her know how he feels, if he presents himself and says, I want to go out with you, I want to date you, I want to kiss you, I'm in love with you, whatever, and she laughs at him. If she says, that is not what I meant at all, that is not it at all, well, then his world would be shattered. His world would be disturbed, and he doesn't know what he would do. So that's his dilemma. That's the dilemma of the modern man. Do I act and risk it all, maybe to gain everything or to lose everything? or do I just continue in my state of ennui and apathy and boredom and misery? Because that's kind of where he is. But again, I don't know, misery may be too strong a word, but certainly he's not happy. That's for sure. For I have known them all already. I've measured out my life. Let's see, I'm trying to decide where I want to go now. Again, I know I'm aware of time. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? The answer is yes, it is a perfume from a dress. It is this woman with her perfume and her dress that's kind of driving him crazy. The poem is very much stream of consciousness. In other words, we're inside Prufrock's mind, and he's just kind of telling us his thoughts, and it's kind of jumbled up, and it's not always clear, but that's what's going on. I want to look at this idea here again, going back to his loneliness and his again, misery is not a bad word. I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. He should have been a crab at the very bottom, coldest, most remote parts of the ocean, the darkest, most remote, most pathetic place in the world. He should have been this crab on the floor of the ocean. That's how he thinks of himself. He would be more appropriate there than at this party. And again, there's a lot more to this that I'm skipping in the interest of time. Would it have been worth it after all? After the cups, the marmalade, the tea, would it have been worthwhile to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to have taken his life into his hands, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead. I am this miraculous, great person. If one, settling a pillow by his head, just say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. And would it have been worth it after all? After the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, it is impossible to say just what I mean. Would it have been worthwhile if one, settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl, should say, that is not it at all? That is not what I mean at all. So apparently it seems she's been nice to him. That's the way I've always read it. She's flirted with him, or at least maybe it's flirtation. Maybe she's just a nice person. Maybe she's just, says thank you and smiles at him. And so he doesn't know how to interpret that. Does she like him? Is there a possibility here, or is this just her being nice? And no, he's afraid she'll laugh at him. No, I didn't mean that. I mean, look at you. You're bald. You're skinny. I'm not going to go out with you. I mean, that's laughable. I grow old. And so here we get to the ending. And of course, this thing about Hamlet, let me just mention this real quick. He says no. That's his ultimate answer. No, he's not going to approach her. He's not going to say anything to her. He says, I am not Prince Hamlet. I am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt an easy tool, almost at times the fool. So in other words, he's the extra. He's advising the prince. He's never going to be the prince. He's never going to be the star of the show. He's going to swell the scene. He's going to be in the background. That's his role in life. He's never going to really have a starring part, if you will. Do I dare to eat a peach? That's a famous line in the poem. Peaches are juicy and sweet and delicious. And do I dare bite into this peach and talk to this girl? And then look at the ending here. I have heard the mermaids singing, each to each. I do not think they will sing to me. The mermaids, the beautiful, mermaids of myth will not sing to him. I have seen them, the mermaids, riding seaward on the waves when the wind blows the water white and black. Look at this ending. We have lingered in the chamber of the sea by sea girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown till human voices wake us and we drown. Look at the ending of that poem. Yeah, we've had all these sea images throughout the poem. The crab at the bottom of the sea, the mermaids. Here at the end, he's drowning. The mermaids are not going to sing to him. The girl's never going to be there for him because he's never going to approach her. He's never going to take that risk. And so he ends up just drowning in his own self-loathing and isolation and loneliness and despair. So the title ultimately is very ironic, obviously. The love song of J. Alfred Prufrock is not much of a love song. It's a love song of the modern man who is so insecure and indecisive. So anyway, that's my take on the poem. Hope it makes some sense to you after you heard this. I appreciate your attention and look forward to seeing the work you produce with these two wonderful modern poems. Thank you very much.